Welcome to the Business of Apparel podcast. This is the place to learn how to start and scale your own apparel brand and fill it with loyal customers for years to come. I'm your host, Rachel Erickson, owner and CEO of Unmarked Street, and I can't wait to share this episode with you. Hello, and welcome back to the Business of Apparel podcast. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about sustainability because there are things shifting in the apparel world right now around sustainability, and it is just going to start getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Something that the slow fashion movement or the sustainable apparel movement has definitely been battling is, of course, fast fashion, right? We've been out here trying to promote the fact that we use eco-friendly fabrics. If we're using polyester or any man-made fabrics, a lot of times it's recycled. We're making sure that we're doing our part. We're doing natural fibers. We are working with ethical manufacturers. We are doing our due diligence inside our small brands to make sure that we have sustainability initiatives on our books that we are actually executing against. We've been talking about this a lot on the podcast over the years, and it's definitely something that I've found to be very, very important. Even as I was in my different corporate roles, it was something that I always pushed for. I always loved to work with teams who also pushed for sustainability initiatives. And sometimes it can be hard, right? Like defining what sustainability actually means for you and your brand. There are many different ways to do it. Different brands do it different ways. They make commitments to be a certain way or to have zero waste by a certain date, and then they work toward that. Or other brands just market exactly what it is that they're doing when it comes to sustainability inside their brand. Something else that I think is really, really important is focusing on the sustainability factor of the processes that you put inside your business, right? So I don't just look at sustainable fabrics and sustainable trims, and I'm not just marketing that part of it, but are you doing things inside your business like 3D rendering fits instead of having to make actual protos that you're just going to throw away? Are you actually doing that kind of work? Are you eliminating photo samples by doing maybe some AI renderings? Are you eliminating sales samples by having a very different process with your sales team, or maybe by discussing how you do wholesale differently than ever before? The traditional models in the apparel industry are going to have to shift, especially when it comes to ways that you're working inside your company, so that it's not just talking about fabrics anymore, right? Like sustainability is so nuanced. It needs to have so many different layers built into your company. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this today is because there's a couple different things happening on the front of fast fashion that is going to make sustainable, slow fashion a lot more important and a lot more center stage here as we move forward. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of talk about here, I know you're sick of me talking about tariffs. We're all sick of talking about tariffs. I wish we didn't have to talk about them anymore. But the de minimis tariff that was coming in from China, right? So I've talked about this a little bit before on Money Mondays. If you are not subscribed to us over here on YouTube, listening to Money Mondays and the podcast every single week, I really recommend that you just go over real quick and do that now so that you can make sure you get all of the latest information and news about the apparel industry from me every single week. But I know I've been talking about this on Money Mondays, where we've been talking a little bit about how for a long time, there was a de minimis exemption where basically if you were importing less than $800 of goods in your package from China, you would receive a 0% or a $0 tariff bill. There would be no fee for that as long as it was under $800. And so many companies, especially fast fashion companies, were producing in China, producing super fast, and then shipping directly to their customer. And as long as that package was under $800, they were incurring no additional fees. That is gone now with the new government and the new ways that things are coming down with the tariffs. That de minimis exemption is gone. It's over. So a bunch of different companies that were using this, Shine being the number one company that most people are talking about with this. Temu is another one. I know Temu is not exactly who we talk about a ton in the apparel industry, but those are kind of the two that keep popping up in my feed. They're no longer able to do this. So they are raising prices. And fast fashion, of course, we all know, thrives on the fact that it is made super quickly. It's low quality. It's basically throwaway goods that you wear a couple different times because it's a hot trend right now. And it's really cheap, right? That's the whole model of fast fashion. And so the thing that we're going to start to notice is if you can buy a high quality good, like a high quality t-shirt, let's say, that is actually going to last you for 15 years, 20 years, as long as you take care of it properly, versus a fast fashion t-shirt that maybe now costs the same or very, very close, but is only going to last you a few months. How long is it going to take for the market and our customers to start to recognize that it's actually pretty stupid to go over and buy fast fashion anymore, because you're just wasting your money at that point? So there's no point in shopping fast fashion if the prices are going to be the same. So that's one thing that's been happening. And I think we are really going to see a shift in people moving toward quality goods, high value goods, clothes that are going to be in their closet for a really long time, things that they're going to make an investment in. And it might not be that they're willing to pay more for those items. It's not that we also get to raise our prices, although I know we're all dealing with that right now. So that's a separate discussion. But if they're starting to compare apples to apples when it comes to price, fast fashion versus slow fashion, I really think that the consumer is smart enough to understand that they're going to get a lot more wears, they're going to get a lot more use out of that slow fashion, higher quality piece. So that's one thing. Something else that is happening in the EU is that there is a new law coming out about influencers in fast fashion. And influencers in the EU are no longer allowed to advocate for fast fashion. So anything that was out there with like someone who is a big name, someone who's got millions and millions of followers, who was maybe promoting Shine or, and I say it Shine, I don't know, Shein, I'm sure there are other pronunciations out there about it. And I don't know. I've called it Shine. If that's totally wrong, please let me know. Put a comment below. I'd love to hear how it's actually pronounced. And so if they've been promoting those different fast fashion companies, that is no longer allowed. They're not allowed to do that anymore. So what typically happens in the fashion industry, and especially with sustainability initiatives, is we kind of keep our eye on the EU. The EU is almost always leading the way. The laws that they put on the books, the different things that they regulate, the things that they demand of their companies and of their citizens ends up trickling down later to the US. The US regulations and all of our different laws end up coming after. And so I anticipate that pretty soon over time, we're going to start to see some of these things happening in the United States too. It might not be to the same level that the EU is doing. It might be in a different way. It might come in a different form. It might come quite a bit later based on other things that are happening in our government right now. But there is a chance that these kind of laws are going to come over here too. And so where people have been doing like massive unboxing videos and showing all of the, crappy garments that they pull out of a box and there's already holes in it and they pull the tag off and it creates a hole right away, like all of that has to end in the EU. Are you sick of being stuck on the sidelines of the apparel industry and you just want to be put in the game? Then join our 100% free workshop, Secrets Behind Billion-Dollar Apparel Brands, and learn the strategies, tactics, and secrets used by the most successful companies in the world. We'll cover everything from setting your brand standards to big brand line planning and executive level processes. In this workshop, you're going to learn how to name your target customer, rationalize your line, calculate product margins, roll up your revenue, and see potential profits while figuring out how to build a unique calendar for your brand. You're going to learn that and so much more. Are you ready to take your apparel business to the next level? Sign up today and use code PODCAST for a 10% discount on the full Business of Apparel online course or any of our mini courses after the workshop. Visit www.thebusinessofapparel.com/secrets to register. Don't miss out. So we're going to start to see a lot less marketing from that end in fast fashion, which means number one, there's more opportunity to grab up those influencers as a slow fashion company. Those influencers are probably still looking to make some money and to still be doing those affiliations. And so there might be some opportunity for slow fashion companies to get in on a level where they wouldn't have before because fast fashion dollars are just so big. So there's some opportunity there to grab up some market share, grab up some marketing like FaceTime with the world in a way that may not have been there in the past. The other thing that is happening is that EU is also putting some new regulations in place regarding the labeling on your garments. So there are a few things that we've been hearing about, and if you sell into the EU, these are things that you should be aware of too. One of the things is that the EU is considering mandating QR codes for your content and wash instructions. So instead of having, I don't know if you've ever like bought one of those, like a t-shirt or something from a company that sells globally. This happened to us a lot at Specialized, where we sold so globally, we were in basically every single country. And so we had to have every single language on our care content label and with our wash instructions. And so our care content label that was like sewn into the left side of your garment on the side seam near the bottom hem was like a book. It was so long, and it was meant to be torn out, or it was meant to be cut out. Like, we didn't expect people to actually keep that label in their garment, but because it was so big, it was such a cumbersome thing to print and to sew in. And it's a waste of materials, right? Like printing this huge book of instructions in every single language when your customer really only needs one language, but that's the law, has become a little bit difficult to swallow. And so the EU is considering making that a QR code. And so if you have a QR code on a label and it's just very small, and that QR code actually takes you to a page where you understand the wash instructions and the care and content of that garment in all the different language, now you just have that digitally, and your labels can be much, much smaller. So that is something that is being considered. There is also a big transparency act that is being discussed in the EU right now, where every single bit and bob, every single area where you source your trims and materials from is going to have to be disclosed in some way about all of your garments. So instead of you being able to say, made in the USA or whatever it is, if those laws come to the US, you are now going to have to also disclose somewhere. And this might just need to be on your website. Maybe it's another QR code situation. We don't exactly know how this is going to roll out, but it might be a situation where on your website for that style, there now needs to be detail information listed at the bottom that says our zippers are sourced from China. Our fabric is sourced from Taiwan. I don't know what else. Our buttons are sourced from the US. And then we manufactured in the US. So all of those kinds of details are going to have to be disclosed and are going to have to become very, very transparent to the customer, as the customers are getting more and more discerning about who they shop with and what all the little details are that are going into the garments that they buy. This type of stuff is also going to have to be documented very, very well. Like we're looking right now at the new United States, Mexico, Canada agreement that is saying if you have all of your goods, like including your fabric and your trims and all of the little bits and bobs that go into your garment, if they're all from the United States, Mexico, or Canada, if everything that you are using goes into that garment, now we're discussing not seeing the tariffs, and maybe you'll get an exemption. But all of that has to be documented so, so well. And so the EU is kind of leading the way on having some of these discussions about how that needs to happen. So we can definitely expect that this might come to us in the United States. That's how like the PFAS thing happened. I've talked about this before on the podcast too, where you can no longer have PFAS, which is a toxic chemical, basically in the coatings of your garments. So if you have a garment that like is water resistant and you can like drop water on it and it beads up and the water doesn't actually get into the fabric, or if you have like a rain jacket and it's protecting you from the rain and it's water resistant, a lot of times the coatings that are put on those fabrics have PFAS in them, which is kind of like a version of Teflon, if you will. It's like your no-stick frying pan that you probably put eggs in. That's the kind of stuff we can no longer include PFAS chemicals on any of our garments if you want to sell them in the United States. It's just not allowed anymore. And so by following the EU's lead, the EU did that many years before the United States did. And so after a while, we started to trickle down. We started to see that in our country too. And a lot of times, if you keep your eye on California, they are leading the way in a lot of those different laws, especially when it comes to sustainability. So what I wanted to talk through today was just, I want you to be aware that all of these different things are happening. There are so many different ways to get out to your customer what it is that you are doing in the way of sustainability. But what I want you to be really careful of is that you are not greenwashing anybody. So what does greenwashing mean? It means that you are saying that you're a super sustainable company and you do all these sustainable things, and I source all of this sustainable fabric and we use ethical manufacturing, and it's not really true. Like, you're putting out information that maybe has a nugget of truth in it, but you're overinflating the information. A lot of companies have really gotten in trouble for greenwashing. H&M is one company, for example, who has been sued over greenwashing. And you do not want to find yourself in a situation where you're in a legal battle because you over-exaggerated something that you're doing for your brand. So when you are out there telling your community, telling your customers, putting out on your website what it is that you're doing in the way of sustainability, make sure that you are being very accurate. Make sure that you are not overinflating any of that information. But it is really important right now to let your customer know that you're either a slow fashion brand, you take your time to develop high quality, well-fitting clothes, right? We believe here at Unmarked Street and the Business of Apparel that the way that your clothes fit is the number one reason that you will have customers come back to you over and over again. Think about it. When you've shopped in the past and you found your favorite underwear, your favorite bra, your favorite sports bra, your favorite jeans, your favorite swimsuit, how many of them did you buy? And when that swimsuit, that pair of jeans got old, got holes in it, whatever it was, maybe 10 years down the road, did you go back to that company and try to find the same pair again? I know I did. That's how I shop. If I have favorites of things, I'll buy them in all the colors. I will buy multiples of them so that I make sure I have them for a very, very long time. That customer loyalty is built into fit and comfort. And so taking that slow fashion movement to make sure that you have those things built into every single garment that you offer is only going to bring in more and more revenue because you are going to have more and more repeat customers because you're making their favorite garments. Tell your customers about that process. Show them behind the scenes of what it takes to run a fitting and to review a prototype and to do it properly, to do it slowly, to not rush through it. If you've done 3 different prototypes because you really want to nail the fit of something, let your customers know that. Now, if you've gone through like 10 or 15 fits, that's a different issue and you and I need to talk because you should really only be doing 3 protos, going straight to size set and then going into production. Any great technical designer can get you through almost any garment in those amounts of prototyping rounds. If you're doing more than that, it means that you probably need to bring in an expert. You need to bring in some outside help, okay? But show your customers what that looks like. Let them know that you are taking so much time and care to make a garment for them that you know they're going to love and that you are proud to give to them. Show them that behind the scenes stuff. That stuff is so, so powerful in your marketing. And that also tells them that you are taking the time to do something that will be long lasting in their closet, which is sustainable in and of itself, right? If we are not shopping every single day or every single week, replacing the stuff that all of a sudden has holes in it or can't be worn anymore and I have to throw it away. Now those things make us sustainable in a very different way. And there are so many different stories that you can tell. I hope this episode was helpful to you. I hope maybe you learned a little bit about what's going on in the land of apparel, especially with all the different laws and regulations coming out right now and all the different discussions that are going on. If it was helpful to you and you think it could help someone else, please share this episode with them. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Business of Apparel podcast. I would so appreciate hearing your thoughts on the show. And if you know someone who could benefit from it, please share it with them. My biggest desire is to help other apparel professionals understand the nuances of our industry so we can all work toward making better product for a better world. If you would like to connect further, I'd love to invite you to send me a message through my website, thebusinessofapparel.com, where I do weekly trainings through my YouTube video channel, a weekly newsletter, blog articles, and so many more resources to help you start and scale a profitable apparel brand. This podcast is produced by Box 7 Media, who I cannot speak highly enough of. If you're looking to start your own podcast, you can reach out to Jeremy at Box 7 Media on LinkedIn anytime.